Is the Thinkware U3000 Pro the best dash cam you can get for the best parking surveillance and driving recordings? I'll go in depth into the video quality of the U3000 Pro and compare its video quality to the original U3000. We'll also take a look at how each of the 4 parking modes work and how much power they use from the car battery. I'll then calculate a real-world estimate of how long each of the parking modes can last using only the car battery. Let's put the U3000 Pro to the test and really see if its driving mode recordings and parking mode surveillance features are really that good. By the way, I'll even show you a bug I found and more.
Frakking Creations, showing you the good stuff.
A quick disclaimer that Thinkware sent us this dashcam kit for free to review. These are my honest opinions and real-world tests of this dashcam. Thinkware U3000 Pro video quality plus U3000 comparison. Let's start with the all-important video quality evaluation. The Thinkware U3000 Pro has a 4K sensor for the front camera and 2K for the rear. What's been upgraded from the original U3000 is that the rear camera now also uses a Sony Starvis 2 sensor. Here are some video comparisons between the U3000 Pro and the original Thinkware U3000 dashcam. The front cameras have almost exact specs. Both the U3000 and U3000 Pro front cameras record at the same 4K resolution, 30 megabits per second at 30 frames per second, and both using Starvis 2 and H.265 encoding. The difference is that the original U3000 uses a lens with the field of view angle of 152 degrees, while the U3000 Pro has a field of view angle of 147 degrees. Other than that, the video quality is very similar for both cameras. The 4K image quality is pretty good, but not quite the best out there for 4K. Here is an early morning video for the U3000 Pro. And a video in the dark as well. As typical for all dashcams, the quality won't be as good as a video with better lighting from the sun. Everyone likes reading license plates from dashcam videos, so here are some for you to see. Note that, unlike most other reviews, we have a dynamic zoom for you to see not just a static best case view. Here, you get a better sense of how easy or hard it is to view the license plate as the distance changes and as the angle changes. At the rear, the U3000 Pro now also sports a Sony Starvis 2 sensor. The main downside is that it is still at 2K, though I think 2K is still okay for the rear camera, considering Full HD is now the minimum standard for dashcams. Again, the specs for the two U3000s are very similar except for the field of view angle and Sony sensors. Both cameras are at 2K resolution, 10 megabits per second at 30 frames per second, and encode using H.265 format. The two differences are that the older U3000 uses the original Sony Starvis sensor in a field of view of 128 degrees, while the newer U3000 Pro uses the Sony Starvis 2 sensor and a field of view of 156 degrees. I find it interesting that Thinkware went from 128 degrees to 156 degrees. This is a very big jump, and I wonder why they did this. On the one hand, the Starvis 2 sensor gives the U3000 Pro better balance of colors and more detail along with HDR to balance out the light and dark areas. We can see that the older U3000 is more washed out due to the brightness. But on the other hand, the larger field of view angle of the U3000 Pro makes objects appear farther away than they actually are, and so they look smaller when compared to a field of view that is lower. This results in what looks like a loss of detail when you compare the two video clips at the same instance. The older U3000 actually looks like it has better detail because the object is slightly larger from the lower field of view angle. For the U3000 Pro, aside from better color balance and balanced exposure, it does offer one additional benefit due to the updated Starvis 2 sensor. And that is the faster shutter speed for fast-moving objects. You can see this in things like the passing road or the rotating wheels. In the U3000 video, these look blurry, but on the U3000 Pro video, it is sharp and looks like the objects are frozen in time and not moving. Thinkware U3000 Pro 4 parking modes plus car battery drain. I like that the Thinkware U3000 Pro has 4 well-made parking modes to select from so that you can use the one that suits your needs the best for your car surveillance needs. Each one is a balance of how much video to record, storage space to use, and how much charge capacity to use from your car battery. Included with the U3000 Pro is an OBD power cable, which allows you to more easily install the dashcam and enable parking mode, all without hardwiring the dashcam to the fuse box of the vehicle. Before I go over each of the parking modes, I should mention that power usage is very important when it comes to parking mode runtime of a dashcam. The more power hungry a dashcam, the shorter the dashcam can run using the car battery or dashcam battery pack. It's as simple as that. I did an extensive test of dashcam power usage comparing the original Thinkware U3000 to dashcams from Blackview, VFO, and Akio in another video, so watch that video if you want more in-depth explanations of parking modes and related power usage. To summarize, from that video we see that dashcams operate in 2 states within parking mode: parking standby and parking event recording states. For some dashcams and in some parking modes, the 2 states use similar amounts of power. This makes for calculating parking mode runtime pretty easy. But for dashcams like the U3000 and U3000 Pro, its radar parking mode uses so little power in the parking standby state compared to the parking event recording state. This is why the 2 measurements are required. Let's see how effective the U3000 Pro uses power and estimate what the parking mode runtime will be in each parking mode. I will also include the numbers for the original U3000 for comparison. U3000 Pro Energy Saving Parking Mode. To use the least amount of power, the U3000 Pro's Energy Saving Parking Mode will only wake up to record a video in 15 frames per second if an impact event is detected. This uses the least amount of power since the dashcam is sleeping and not recording most of the time. We see that in parking standby state, energy saving mode uses somewhere between 1 to 10 milliamps. My battery monitor cannot measure lower than 10 milliamps, and anything that low is not much of a battery drain. For my calculations, I will use 4 milliamps. In parking event recording state, it uses around 290 milliamps. My estimate for how long parking mode can last is between the worst case of 8.6 hours to the best case of 625 hours, or 0.36 days to 26 days. Depending on how many impact events that occur. If you continuously get impact detections all the time, then you will get a lot of recorded events and you will encounter the 8.6 hour runtime. But since impact detections will likely be rare, I suspect that it is possible to get close to 625 hours. For the original U3000, my estimate is between 8.1 hours to 625 hours. For an explanation of how I calculate the estimated parking mode runtime, watch our other video on that when it is published. U3000 Pro Time-Lapse Parking Mode. In this mode, the dashcam is always recording when parked. The main difference is that it is in 10 frames per second with no audio. I like that it is 10 frames per second instead of 1 frames per second. A lot of other dashcams use 1 frame per second or 2 frames per second time-lapse. This one gives 9 more frames for every second, which can be very useful. In this mode, the dashcam can also detect an impact and log it. Here, I do wish that the U3000 Pro would switch from time-lapse recording to normal recording so that we can get normal video with audio when an impact event is detected. Something that some other dashcams do and would be a way for Thinkware to improve here. The U3000 Pro uses about 240 milliamps to 250 milliamps of power continuously and doesn't really change when an impact occurs. I use 245 milliamps in my calculations since it hovers between the 2 values. My estimate for runtime is 10.2 hours or 0.4 days. For the original U3000, the estimate is about 9.8 hours. U3000 Pro Motion Parking Mode. Next, the U3000 Pro's Motion Parking Mode is the traditional motion-activated parking mode that is image-based. It can also independently detect impacts and wake up to record in 15 frames per second with audio. Some dashcams require motion activation first before an impact event can be triggered. I strongly believe that these two should work independently, and it does for the U3000 Pro. It's good that this parking mode for the U3000 Pro is also using buffered recordings. This means that when an event occurs, the video file recorded will include the scene before and after the event. It's almost like going back in time. This will give a better picture of the whole scene from before the impact or motion event to after. As expected, in this mode, the dashcam uses more power and at a consistent rate of about 270 to 280 milliamps. This doesn't change much whether an impact or motion event occurs. I will use 275 milliamps for my parking mode runtime estimate. My estimate for runtime is 9.1 hours or 0.38 days. For the original U3000, the estimate is about 8.8 hours. U3000 Pro RADAR parking mode. Now we get to the ultimate parking mode for the Thinkware U3000 Pro. A radar module is built into both the front and rear cameras to detect motion. The radar modules use so little power that they can allow the dashcam to run in parking mode for quite a lot longer than most other dashcams running in motion detection parking mode. Here we see the power usage of an impact in radar parking mode. It's important to note that for the U3000 Pro, it can also detect impact and motion events independently when in radar parking mode. Note that in this mode, the recordings are not buffered. Therefore, the recorded video may not include pre-event footage if a motion detection doesn't happen first to start the recording before the impact. Something interesting to note is that the radar isn't triggered by the falling snow or droplets of water running down the windshield. Typical image-based motion detection will falsely detect this as a motion event. But as expected, the radar does detect a larger moving object and wakes the dashcam up to start recording. The radar can detect a moving object from the front or rear cameras independently. You can set it to detect at different sensitivities, which give a range of 1 to 5 meters, but note that the distance is from the camera and not the bumpers of the vehicle. We see that the radar parking mode is quite impressive in its power use while still being able to record both motion event and impact event videos at 15 frames per second with audio. The U3000 Pro uses power at a rate of about 10 milliamps in parking standby state and about 290 milliamps in parking event recording state. I estimate that most people can get between the worst case of 8.6 hours to 250 hours or 0.36 days to 10.4 days of parking mode runtime using only the car battery. For the original U3000, the estimate is between 7.6 hours to 250 hours. Not too bad, right? But what does this mean in the real world? What does it mean for you? For most people, I calculate that on average, you can get between 2 to 6 continuous days in radar parking mode on the U3000 Pro using only the car battery. How do all the dash cams you are using or are interested in buying compare to this? 6-hour radar parking mode test. To put my calculations to the test, I also ran a 6-hour radar parking mode test to see if my estimates are valid. The vehicle was parked outside on a busy street. For the 6-hour test, the U3000 Pro used a total of 200 milliamp hours of capacity from the battery. That gives an average rate of 33 milliamps. At this rate, this theoretically gives us 75.8 hours or 3.2 days of parking mode runtime and falls in line with my best case and worst case estimates. During my test, a total of 55 event recordings were made. So that means an average of 9 events recorded per hour. As we know, if you have more events, more power will be used and this will reduce the total runtime. If you have less events, you will get more runtime as expected. Additionally, in an underground parking test, I can get at least 6 days of radar parking mode runtime easily because less events happen there. And remember that this is with the dashcam detecting and recording both motion and impact events. not like other dash cams that use energy saving or low power modes in order to have longer runtime at the cost of only detecting and recording impact events and not motion events. For all the estimates shown, my calculations are using a cutoff voltage of 12.1 volts and assuming the car battery is a 50 amp hour battery at 60% state of charge. Do keep in mind that other things will affect the runtime as well, like having an old battery, cold climates, or not driving enough regularly to charge the car battery back up. In these conditions, you might want to consider a higher cutoff voltage. This helps ensure the battery won't die on you, but also means a shorter parking mode runtime. Thinkware U3000 Pro Parking event wake-up time, and much more. One of the most important specs of parking mode that should be tested is the wake-up time. The time it takes a dashcam to wake up from parking standby state and start recording after it detects an impact is very important. If a dashcam takes a long time to wake up after an impact, it can miss a lot of the action. The Thinkware U3000 Pro takes only about 1.7 seconds to wake up. Somewhere close to 1 second is the current gold standard. For those that are interested, the U3000 Pro also offers buffered recording in its motion parking mode. In this mode, the dashcam is always recording to the memory buffer and is able to capture video before the impact or motion event. In this mode, the wake-up time doesn't matter since the dashcam is always buffering the live video and can capture the pre-event recording when an impact or motion event occurs. This is great for capturing the scene leading up to the event, but as we saw earlier, it also uses more power and doesn't have as long a parking mode runtime. Next useful feature of the U3000 Pro is the parking summary you get when you start the vehicle after being parked. The dashcam notifies you of the number of motion and number of impact events.
During parking mode, motion detection recording, 7 and event detection recording, 1 occurred. Please have a safe drive today.
This is important because you don't always catch something happening to your vehicle until a later time, like when you get home. So a notification from the dashcam of an impact is useful and lets you review the footage before leaving the parking spot. Another thing that should be tested in parking mode is the impact sensitivity. As for all dashcams, not all impacts will be detectable. When I test for the impact sensitivity, the U3000 Pro does have a pretty good impact sensitivity most of the time. It can detect a small impact at the rear driver's side bumper of the vehicle. Also detectable is an impact on the rear driver's side taillight. Like the U3000, the U3000 Pro comes with a 64GB micro SD card, which I estimate will give a max of about 2.7 continuous hours worth of recordings using the max resolution settings of 4K and 2K for the front and rear respectively. The max supported is 512 gigabytes, which I estimate to give about 22.2 continuous hours. If you drive long distances and park for a long time, a larger memory card would be recommended. These are just my very rough calculations to give an idea of what to expect. Next, I ran an interesting continuous parking event test on the U3000 Pro that gave me an unexpected result that I believe is a bug. It is definitely something that Thinkware will want to fix because I would consider this an important bug in the motion detection firmware. When a dashcam detects an event in radar parking mode, it should still be able to detect events continuously, one after another. If it doesn't, then you will have missing footage of an event that happens. In my test, I continuously tried to trigger a motion event many times in a row. It looks like sometimes the U3000 Pro made a recording, while other times it didn't. In this instance, there is about 33 seconds missing. While my hand is continuously causing a motion in front of the camera, it should always detect and record the motion event continuously without missing a second. In the next instance, my hand still hasn't stopped moving and the dashcam is missing about 39 seconds of footage. This is a bug that will need to be fixed and should be fixable in a future firmware update. For parking mode, One thing that isn't discussed much is how a dashcam handles cutoff voltages. Another good thing that the U3000 and U3000 Pro have in parking mode is that they allow for very fine tuning of the cutoff voltage. You can select from 11.6 volts all the way to 13.2 volts in 0.1 volt increments. Some dashcam hardwire kits only have one setting, while others only have a few cutoff settings to select from, which I think is not enough. I like Thinkware's version a lot because of its flexibility for customization, and you even have options to select winter months so that the dashcam will adjust for the cold climate. Now you don't have to go in to change the cutoff voltage twice a year when the season changes. This goes to show that Thinkware is a dashcam maker that really is trying to make a better parking mode. After having tested both the Thinkware U3000 and the U3000 Pro, I'm still impressed by what Thinkware offers as a top-tier dashcam. Its parking mode is one of the best I've seen for a dashcam because it offers 4 different parking modes to suit any user's needs. All of them are implemented quite well. Plus, the dual radar parking mode is impressive with how long it can run using just only the car battery. The 4K front camera is very good and the 2K rear camera is not too bad. Hopefully Thinkware will have dual 4K in the future. This dashcam is expensive, but worth it if you need the 4K front camera and impressive parking mode features. With the U3000 Pro, you now also have options for an LTE module or a third interior camera that will plug into this USB-C slot. Reviewing these will be for another video if I do get a hold of them for testing. If you don't need the LTE module or an interior camera, and can be fine with the Starvis 1 sensor for the rear camera, then the less expensive U3000 may be better for you to spend less. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and sharing it to help us grow. Give us some feedback in the comments and check out our other videos for more good stuff.